Hey, single roses, welcome or welcome back to I Buy My Own Roses podcast. It is me, Ariel. I am so glad you are here and I hope you are doing well. If you are new here, I Buy My Own Roses is a self love podcast where I encourage Black women to build and live fulfilling lives with or without a romantic partner. I am also an advocate for women's reproductive rights, specifically our right to not reproduce. So if you are interested in single woman content or child free woman content, you have come to the right place and I hope you will stick around. In today's episode, we are celebrating the freedom and intentionality of a child free lifestyle. We're diving into a conversation that explores a unique way of living, taking on seasonal jobs across the United States to experience new places, cultures, and adventures, all without the commitment of a permanent move. Our guest, Jerra, who many of you know, is the author of 15 Reasons I'm Childfree, Stories to Validate Your Childfree Choice. She's here to share her journey of moving to Alaska through seasonal work, why she left the corporate world behind, and how her child-free lifestyle has allowed her to explore the country on her own terms. Jerra and I discuss how being child-free allows for spontaneity and self-exploration and enables us to make bold life changes without hesitation. I am so happy about this episode because I know that the conversation that we typically have about moving involves moving abroad. But if you don't have a passport, that's not a problem. Jerra is presenting us with another option, staying stateside while still having the luxury to experience new places, new food, new culture, new communities. So if you've ever thought about packing your bags and trying something new without moving abroad, this episode is for you. I am going to make sure all of Jerra's links are in the description box below. Let's get into it. Hi, Jerra. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Today, we're going to be talking about your experience with moving to Sitka, Alaska, how you came to that decision. And we're also going to be talking about your book. Can you share a little bit about why you decided to move to Alaska and why Alaska?
So I was working this job. It was a work from home job. And people praise those jobs for, obvious reasons. You're working from home. But it was very much it felt like I was in an office all over again with the politics and then they're clocking my lunch breaks and just all of the nonsense. And I thought I would escape that from switching from working in the office to working from home. So I was just tired of I guess, all the nonsense that I had to deal with and the drama at the job. And I was just thinking back over the years, I kind of dealt with the same things. So it was compounding over the years, and I wanted a break. So going to Alaska, I got there by applying for seasonal jobs. And this seasonal job, I saw that it was in Alaska. And I also needed a break from Arizona. I had been living there for 2 years. And prior to that, I was in Atlanta, Georgia. So you can imagine the summers were very hot, couldn't really enjoy yourself during those months of, I'll say, June through August. I just needed a change desperately. So Alaska sounded really appealing because of the weather, first and foremost. And I just needed a break from corporate America. So that's what led me to Alaska.
I totally get that. I also work a remote job. I work in ed tech. I used to be a teacher.
Okay.
And transitioning to ed tech, it has been a little bit freeing. Like I could pick up my laptop and move to a different place, but you take that culture and that anxiety with you. So I totally get it. It's all still there, even when you are working remote. And they are coveted positions. So sometimes I feel like I should be grateful. Like you should just be grateful that you have this because a lot of people don't. But for those of us who are experiencing it, yeah, it could be a lot. Can you tell us what your experience was like living in Alaska, but also the job that you chose, and how did you enjoy working that in comparison to what you were doing before?
I was there from April 17th through September 23rd, I believe. It was so amazing. It was great for my mental health. First and foremost, just being outside, enjoying nature in those summer months that I had been, kind of neglected from living in Arizona and Atlanta. So that was in itself amazing. The culture there, the people are so nice, very laid back, welcoming. Honestly, it wasn't what I expect. Well, I didn't know what to expect going there, honestly. But yeah, the people were very, very nice. I felt super safe. There was hardly any crime. Well, actually, no crime in Sitka, Alaska, aside from like the domestic cases or whatever. But yeah, they really, I guess, took pride in taking care of their neighbors and just being this close knit community. So that's what I loved. And the job that I had, so I don't think I've ever mentioned this on my social media or, my close friends and family know, but I was a housekeeper. I needed and wanted something that didn't allow me to use my brain because I was really burnt out. And I've always been a very meticulous person. I love cleaning and just doing things like that. And the hotel I was working at, it was more kind of upscale.
Mhm.
So I got paid a little more, I got good tips. And yeah, it was just that mental break that I needed from corporate America and just the hustle and bustle culture that I have been really accustomed to over the years.
That's lovely. When you choose to leave a job where I guess you're making a little bit more money and you're going into something that is seasonal, it is like a financial risk for most people. So,
Mhm.
how does someone prepare to make a shift like that?
With me, I had a savings already, and I attribute that to dealing with my father. He passed away about 2 years ago, and he left some inheritance. So I just saved some of that for a rainy day. I didn't know that that rainy day would be me quitting my job and doing a seasonal stint in Alaska, but it is what it is. So I had savings and I just was thankful that my rent was included in the agreement at the seasonal job. So rent was $15 a day. So I didn't have to pay for rent or a car note and things like that. I had already sold my car. So that added more to my savings account. I just kind of sold my things, sold my big things in Arizona, like my couch and my TV, some electronics. And then I just put everything else in storage. And I just kind of took the leap of faith. And I'm glad I did that, honestly.
We have to bring in the child free conversation. Do you think this is a choice you would have made if you were not child free?
I don't know how I'll be able to do this if I had kids. I was just thinking about that on the way back, like on the plane, because of course there were babies and children on the plane. And I'm like, wow, I can just pick up my things and go when I want to and not have to worry about anything or anyone else but myself. That's a huge blessing.
I agree with you. I know there are some parents who try to do it, but I think it's just definitely a lot easier for people who are child free. I've moved a few times. When we talk about the freedom to travel, a lot of people talk about moving abroad, which I want to move abroad too. But the great part about your story is that you moved domestically. Alaska is a state and you can like still get away and get that break for your mental health. I really appreciate that piece of this conversation.
And the funny thing is, after my first month or so there, I was telling my coworker, it feels like I'm overseas because I'm
Mhm.
not dealing with a whole lot of the stress and all the traffic and well, the prices were high. I was going to say inflation, but the groceries were very high in Alaska. So that was a thing that I couldn't really escape. But just the peace that I experienced living there was just amazing. It felt like I was in Bali again in terms of that.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to embrace this lifestyle and kind of get out of the way and be free?
I wish I had known about seasonal work when I was in my 20s, honestly. I think instead of going to college, I would have taken a year or maybe 2 years and done seasonal work. I could have saved a whole lot of money a lot earlier in my life by doing so. So I say for those that are listening that are in their 20s or maybe about to graduate high school, look into seasonal work. You kind of get a chance to also meet people from different cultures and all walks of life as well. So the website I went to was coolworks.com. That's cool as opposite of hot. So cool works. They have a lot of jobs there. And I'm not getting any sponsors. I'm not getting paid for this. just sharing this out of the goodness of my heart. But yeah, I would totally look into coolworks.com if you are really unsure about what you want to do after high school or in your 20s or your 30s. Just take a chance, take a risk. And like they say, no risk, no reward. And I don't think you'll regret it.
That's such a good advice, especially for younger people. It's like a great alternative to college because one of the things you said was that it exposes you to other people and other things. And like that's one of the things that college provides, but such a high cost. It is nice that to have that alternative.
You can always take your online courses in the evening after you get off work. So you'll be saving a lot of money, making money while also attending school if that's what you want to do.
Let's shift into a conversation about your book. You wrote a book about being child free. Can you tell us a little bit about the book and what inspired you to write it?
The book is titled 15 Reasons I'm Childfree, and then the subtitle is Stories to Validate Your Childfree Choice. I wrote the book because I knew at 15 years old that I didn't want children. I was really adamant about that. Of course, family tried to tell me that I'll change my mind one day. They thought I was crazy, thought, I didn't know what I was talking about. And I did know what I was talking about. And I also feel like there are people in the same situation that really didn't get that support that they needed when I was 15. So I just kind of put myself in my readers' shoes and let them know that it's okay to not want children. If you are 15, 19, 20, 30, it's just really a book that kind of shares my story, my journey. And I also have 3 stories from close friends of mine that are also child free. And of course, I asked you to write your story and share that with me. So that's in there. I think it's a great book that people will really relate to in the child free space.
Are you able to share just like one of the personal stories that you think would resonate with the child free audience?
Yes. So the one where I talk about it's not your obligation to make them a grandparent. I believe that's one that'll resonate, especially with the holiday season we have coming up and the gatherings and things that the child free community kind of dread going to because we're going to get the questions about when you're going to have a child or I need some grandchildren. But that's really not your obligation if that's not what you want to do. Never allow someone to force you to do something that you don't want to do because you end up regretting it. And they say you're going to regret not having children. But I think it's better to regret not having children than to have them and then regret being a parent.
That's one of the things we hear a lot is child free women, like, oh, you're just going to regret it. Even if I do, I am completely okay with getting to 50, 60 years old, looking back and thinking, okay, I wish I would have had kids. But I am not okay with having a kid and then raising a kid for the next 20 forever. You raise kids forever. I just think like, oh my goodness, I wish I didn't do that. And we see a lot of parents kind of regretting their choice and you cannot take it back. It's something that's so serious. It's another person's life.
And people, if they follow me on social media, they know how much I love my nephew. There's no doubt about that. But I also love giving him back to his mom when I need my quiet time, when I need my space again.
Did your time in Alaska deepen your perspective on being child free in any way?
I'd say my decision on being child free was always strong. I think it did kind of deepen it because now it's to the point where I'm not looking to date right now because I don't want to have to potentially deal with someone who claims they want well claims they don't want children in the beginning and then change their mind, be like, oh, I think I may want children. Are you still on this child free thing? Because I dealt with that in the past. And just, yeah, being in Alaska and just experiencing the fact that I can just up and change the trajectory of my life at any point. I am now not looking to date because I just enjoy my freedom so much.
I think sometimes men, they'll agree with you. You know what I mean? Like if you say you don't want kids, they're like, okay, I don't want them either. Like, whatever. And then like halfway down the road, it's we like each other or whatever the case may be. Maybe we should. And it's like, no, it doesn't matter how good this is going. I don't want to be a mother ever. This has nothing to do with the relationship. Oh, I think that's so funny that they do that. Do you have any upcoming projects or adventures that you're excited about?
So my next seasonal job will be in Colorado. I'm really excited about that. No projects that I'm working on right now. Kind of some ideas going through my mind, but I haven't really etched anything in stone right now. So I'm just really excited about this nomadic lifestyle that I'm embracing for the next year, maybe 2 years. And we'll just see where life takes me. Eventually, I would like to, well, I am going to settle down again, get another apartment. But I'm really excited about my next seasonal job. It'll be at the YMCA of the Rockies, and I will be an activities facilitator. So I'll be helping plan events for the families that come in. So this should be interesting.
So you'll be working with children
Yes.
too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that does sound really interesting. I worked at the YMCA years ago when I was a camp counselor. So the YMCA is cool. It's
Yeah.
nice. You probably had experience with the YMCA. It's just like very community oriented. So it's always nice to be around that. Did you feel it's like a sense of community in Alaska? Because that's like the other thing that people struggle with, especially single people, child free people, is building community with others. Sometimes it's just hard to do in just like our natural environments.
Mhm.
So did you feel like there was a good sense of community for you when you were there?
Absolutely. I met a lot of like minded people in terms of the child free space, and they were open and willing to talk about why they don't want children. Some of them said that they don't essentially like children. Now, I do. Well, I like the well mannered ones, I should say. But it's okay if people choose not to like children. That's their belief or whatever. But yeah, my manager and my assistant manager, they both vowed to never have children, and they felt comfortable talking to me about it. And a couple of my coworkers didn't want children. One of them, she had children already. She was a little older, her children were grown, but she said if she were younger, she wouldn't have them. So that was really shocking to experience that. I had never experienced mothers or child-free people in the workplace, because places that I worked at before, it was very family oriented. They talked about what they did over the weekend with their children, and it was just refreshing to have these type of conversations.
Yeah, it must have been. I don't think I've ever seen it in real life. Like you're saying, you never have. I've never have either. And I still feel like people just look at me sideways when I'm like, I don't want kids. I recently went to Barcelona on a work trip. It's a global organization. So people are coming from all walks of life. Either everybody had kids or the people who didn't have kids wanting kids. So it was like a topic of conversation. And so people would ask me like, "Oh, do you have kids?" And I'd be like, "No." And they're like, "Oh, do you want kids?" And it's just so awkward sometimes. So it's just nice to have. It sounds like it was nice to have those people who understood, you know?
Exactly. When I
Yeah.
finished my book, they of course supported it. They asked me to share the link, which I did, and they purchased the book. So I was happy about that.
That is great. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience about moving to Alaska, being child free? Where can they find you? All those good things.
Yeah, so regarding moving to Alaska, I don't think I have any advice for that. I will say again, it's expensive. Some locations you only have access to them through boats or by plane. So some cities are very remote, except for Anchorage. But there's a lot of crime there, so keep that in mind. But I would highly recommend just applying for a seasonal job during the summers. Do not do a winter in Alaska. Do a summer first, see if you like it. And then from there, connect with someone who's been there for a while so they can give you, I guess, further advice regarding moving there. But I just know that's not something I want to do because of the winters. Then, in terms of being child free, again, I just stress the point of knowing yourself, trusting your own intuition, and never allow someone to second guess your child free choice. It doesn't matter how old you are, you know yourself better than others may think they know you. So it's not my duty to convince you to be child free, but I just want you to trust your own instincts and, again, trust your own intuition regarding that. And then you can find me on Instagram under childfree underscore Jerra, and my YouTube is the same. I was just telling a friend that I may transition over to being on YouTube full time because Instagram to me is kind of not the vibe anymore for me. So yeah, you're better off finding me on YouTube.
I really love how you say that you're not trying to convince other people to be child free, and your community is just a space for people who have already made that decision. I absolutely love that because I think a lot of the criticism, not that we should care, but like a lot of the criticism around the
Mhm.
child free community is that we're trying to convince all of the women of the world to not have kids, and we just want the world to end and no more people to exist. And that's just simply not the truth. It really is about building community with people who have made that choice and who need that extra support or just want to see somebody else living the lifestyle that they are living. So I really appreciate that part about your community. And I really do appreciate just in general the work that you do. I am so grateful to be a part of your community and so grateful to have found you.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. I love your content as well.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'll link your videos for Alaska and I'll also link your
Mhm.
book so that everybody can find you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.